Hello and welcome back to another day in the life of serde-yaml. It's Byron speaking. Yesterday we have finished with the kind of sad realization that the spec is rather large, and even bluntly putting the examples into my test suite is actually taking quite a lot of time. Also, I realized that I probably should pay more attention to terms coined here and kind of try to keep track of them in a different manner than I might have previously done. So a review of this might be in order, just to understand better how I should describe things within my own code here. And yesterday I kept reading this. I think that's my second one where I can jump around more freely. I think I read it kind of till here, information models, representation graph. And this kind of showed me at least one thing. Presentation, that the current options I have here, where is it? Oh, there's no block scalar style yet. Structure style. Here my standard formatter options. I think this in fact wants to be presentation details, because that defines how the stuff or how the representation is serialized into a bunch of characters or bytes. It's interesting because there are basically a whole lot of presentation details, which are these. Let's rename it right away. Presentation details. I like this term because it's also used in the spec, so it's much easier to kind of get the relation between these and not get confused. But besides the presentation details, which are quite numerous, there's also a much smaller amount of representation details. I think, is it representation details? No, wait. Yeah, the representation details, which basically show, which are these ones here. Yeah, or serialization details, sorry. See, so presentation details, that's what finally goes to the character stream, and the serialization details is, how is it? Yeah, is basically how you generate events to finally have something to work with in order to generate the character stream. So, however, as you can see here, the YAML serialization options here are not too numerous. It's really all about whether the keys in the mapping are ordered or unordered, and about the names for the anchors that can be used here. And that's really it. That's these two things that are on that kind of serialization level. Quite amazing. Yeah, and I think I should definitely use these terms. So the formatter is something that I could rename to presenter, because it seems to do just that. Whereas this visitor here, I mean, I can't rename that, obviously. I could rename this one. But this is, actually it is a serializer, right? Because we get serialization events here, which are preset and are based on the implementation of the serialize functions here for our respective structures. So these events are something I cannot influence, basically, and that's what I will have to work with. Quite cool, I think. So that shall work. Good. So previously, I think we finished doing example 2.12 successfully, and I guess there's nothing wrong with trying to keep going here. What was that? Yeah, this was nested mapping. So interestingly, the Python implementation produces this kind of short nested mapping if you tell it that it should try to be as human readable as possible. Which in the case of Python just means that you want to set the default flow style to false, which is a terrible option. So we are obviously not going to do this because it's just so undescriptive. So instead, what I do is I have a structure style for sequences and for mappings, and this defines what you want here. Also, in terms of the review, something that we always use in the Python version of the serializer here is, where is the options? Here it is. Oh, it's pretty, yeah. Explicit start and explicit end. So that's actually related or referring to document start indicator and document end indicator. And this is a presentation detail that we also need. Maybe I should add the documentation here. Defines the style for sequences, i.e. lists and tuples. Defines the, do I have spell checking enabled? No, I have. Defines the style of mappings, like, yeah. Here I'm not confident enough. Let's use e.g. just to not proclaim that this is the only kind of sequences we ever have, because I'm not sure about that. Defines the style of mappings, for example, structures and hash maps. Good, so now let's find a good term for explicit start and explicit end. So it's about the document start. Explicit document start, maybe explicit document end. This is something I could live with. Pub explicit document start and explicit document end. So this could be it. In the spec, I think you use the term indicator a lot. And maybe I want to have that as well. Document start, explicit document start indicator, you know. And I really prefer extremely long and descriptive names here, just to be sure people know what this means. Enforces a indicator. Let's maybe put that into monotype. Enforces a at the start of the document, even if let's call it dump, shall we? So now I'm kind of referring to an API that I don't even have yet. But this is, I think I will use that. I will use these names for now, because this is what they proclaim within the spec as well. And I want to keep close to the spec. That's the thing. And dump is always used in all the implementations I've seen so far. Maybe it's even enforced by the spec, who knows? So I'm just sticking to that. Enforces a ... indicator at the end of the document, even if dump is used. So if you look at the Python implementation, you will see that there is a dump all, which takes a sequence of individual structures that are each put into their own document. And I think by default, you will get a document that will just be separated by new document indicators. So the end of document is implicit. But for message streams, you would probably say explicit document end indicator to enforce this as well, or to enforce the end indicator to always be there. So maybe we should also put this here in case of streaming. In case of streaming documents, you would want to set this to true to enforce an explicit end of document indicator as well. Yeah, otherwise the other side doesn't know if you are done, or if it just has to wait for more content, right? In a streaming fashion, on a network socket, it's a little bit more involved. So usually you're explicit about your start and ends in such a situation. Well, there we go. Now, I think that's the only options we've ever used, except for the flow styles, which we are already able to specify here, even though we are allowing more fine-grained access to these. Good, so now the next examples, I think. Scalars. Scalar content can be written in block notation using a literal style indicated by this one, where all line breaks are significant. We have that already. Here it is, block scalar style. Scalar and folded. I'm not sure if scalar is the right term here, actually. Literal style, maybe. I think literal is what we want to have here. Literal, scalar, blocks are indicated by the character within the YAML file. And causes line breaks to remain significant. Yeah, and folded style. Yeah, where line breaks are folded to a space. Okay. I think I've also added this here, but I might as well just describe it in my own words. So folded scalar blocks are indicated by the character within the YAML file and cause, and will translate line breaks into spaces. And there's the special rule, unless it ends an empty or a more indented line. Oh. Unless it ends with an empty or a more indented line. Yeah, so that is folded. I think that's the only styles there actually are. So let's try to put it in. I have no idea how to specify that in Python, but I guess we will find out. We might not be able to do that, worst case. Or it does it right automatically, or it will escape everything. But we'll see about that. Have no idea. It's worth a test. So that is this guy. Now the data. I think the data we can just take like this. It's worth noting that that the leading spaces there are not relevant to us. So what we can do is just this, I think. And this should yield the string we want. But the new line here needs to be added explicitly in that case, like this. So that should be exactly what we want, and it still looks kind of similar to what it was before. And let's write this guy. So I think the last time, oh look, the explicit document start is always here, and I think explicit start is what was set true at the end. Yeah, I think that's, so the options here is what we want to use. Let's see what we will generate, not to forget to change this one. And now, ew, what is this? This is invalid. Did it indeed create invalid YAML? Or maybe this new line is kind of, maybe there's a new line, there are too many new lines in my code. Even though I don't see that here, because if you concatenate these two strings, nothing happens. So printing this D should just look like, oh, yeah, actually I changed my interface here without adjusting it. Explicit document start indicator false. Explicit document end indicator false. Like that. Good, so now this will compile. But why don't I see my print statement here? I should see it. Maybe some dependencies are wrong. So where's my call here? serde-rs. No, it is dependent on the surrogant file, so it should be re-executed. And I also see it here, but I didn't see the printing for some reason. Excuse me? Ah, now it actually fails. serde-125. What? Yeah, I mean, this entire thing is kind of invalid, even though I totally wonder why. Wait. So apparently this doesn't even work within a raw string, huh? That's awkward. Oh, I printed it in here. This is why it didn't work. Okay, so this is indeed my string, which looks totally fine to me. That's what I expected. True, I'm outputting everything, so I have to print this to std-er in order to make it work as expected. But anyway, this is unexpected output. This totally shouldn't happen. I would have expected an escaped string or something, but not this. Okay, let's have a look at this again. So I think what it does is it puts it into quotes, but which is fine in this regard, but I wonder why the new line is there. This new line is kind of wrong here. And I wonder where that gets in. Maybe it's related to the way I generate my output here. But all I do is really put in a plain string right here. And I end these with new lines, but nothing else is happening. Yeah, so let's print this guy. Print sys std-er. I think that's valid Python 2.7 syntax. Look, this is really what it generates. And that feels totally wrong. But in order to get a new line here, now I get it. It's not wrong. It's actually not wrong. In order to get a new line there, You know, this is folded mode by default. So everything within single quotes or double quotes is folded mode by default. I've read that. So in order to get a new line in folded mode, you have to add like an additional new line here, which is this empty line. And this causes the new line to actually be there. Otherwise, this would just be folded and we wouldn't have the right result. So indeed, this result is correct. But obviously, right now, we have no flags that would tell it to make it look good, like use folded mode, or not folded mode, use a block literal. There are 5 styles of scalar and YAML: plain, single quoted, double quoted, literal, and folded. Yes, I know. So how can I tell it to do that? Ah, look. That's actually what I have here as well. Literal and folded. Yay. It's actually a good write-up on this. I like it. So how can I make it use the literal style? Huh, that was that. There might be other ways. I mean, I have no idea how this Python implementation actually works, and you can manipulate it in various ways and add representers and add presenters and whatnot. So canonical is not what I want. Height and width allow Unicode line break. I don't see it here. The dumper might be the one that could do it. Oh. Resolvers. Yeah, so this is basically their callback system, I suppose. And we might want to have something along the lines as well at some point. But yeah. They also stick to the rules here, to the steps, composition and serialization and whatnot. Composition is actually the lexing parsing part. Yeah, I'm not super sure I got all the terms already internalized, to be honest, but yeah, I'm still looking for a way to specify that I want to have literal style for scalars in blocks, but it doesn't. Yeah, it's not obvious to me. Scalar token. And this, I think, is the header, right? The YAML header, where you can define how you want things. How you want things to be interpreted. In this example, they show you how they parse the document and what kind of tokens you get then. Style. Plain, false. Do they have a literal here? No. line break. What's this possibly? So default style, default flow style. So right now, let's see what I use. Default flow style, false. So that's for lists and sequences. And default style, what's that? Oh yeah, that was for the scalars. But unfortunately, it doesn't really allow me to, or maybe it does. Maybe I can say default style should be a pipe. What about this? Default style is a pipe. So maybe now it will. Yeah. Look at this. It worked. Even though I don't know about that guy here. Why is there a dash? But yeah. So that's the style. Okay. The scalar style. So this is something I would also like to have. I might call it string block or string scalar style. Block string scalar style or something. To only affect strings like that, because numbers I wouldn't want to have that way. And also I don't understand why there is this dash here. This is unexpected. This is not necessarily required, and I'm not sure if this is correct or how I can get rid of it. Yeah, so let's reset the opts here just in case. And what if I set it to something nonsensical? Does it fail? No, it doesn't fail. It just defaults to something else, seems to fall through or something, and interpret it as true. Yeah, so that seems to be, if I do this, then it will probably use the folded style. Yeah. But it always gives me this thing here. What does this dash mean? Is this something I see? Oh, look. Strip. Okay, I think this is just a special way of saying, well, it's supposed to be stripped as well. Okay, stripping is specified by the dash chomping indicator. In this case, the final line break and any trailing empty lines are excluded from the scalar's content. I see, I didn't know that. So, this actually works. So it's kind of explicitly setting the stripping mode here. And yeah, I'm totally fine with that. There we go. So let's expect that. Cool. Keep clip, So we have the chomping indicator and the C chomping indicator. What's this? I think this is block flow style, and C is, what's C flow? Is there a C flow style? I don't know. Empty is clipped by default. All right. All right, interesting. Good. So that explains it. Let's serialize this thing. So that's easy, fortunately. So we should be able to just put the string in here directly and try to serialize the string somehow. So it's this. Is there a space here? No, there's no space. Okay. So this is my data. Oh yeah. And yeah, I can serialize this, so that's fine. That's just a string slice. And it should be the same as 213. With the respective options. Right now we don't set any options here, which, you know, we have to go through each case anyway and set the options accordingly, but that's fine. So now this should compile and fail. Oops. Oh yeah, it takes it as escape sequences, so we might want to use a raw string here. And maybe a semicolon. Like that. Awesome. So we have lots of unused variable warnings, which is fine. But the rest, I think, is okay. Good. Then the next one. Which one is it? Example 214. And the folded scalars, new lines become spaces. Okay, that's the same thing. But we want folded mode. So let's set it up. I think all we have to do is one string here. And the mode here should be folded. So the data is this. Voila, voila, voila. That looks good. No, too much. All right. Now we should be able to just write this out the same way. Not to forget to increment the number here. And we should be good. Oh. Oh yeah, true, I can't force that. How should I? Okay, fair enough. So I will have to put the string directly. Yeah, let's set it to none. Data is this, but the initial, oh yeah, the initial dash I actually do need. And yeah, no new line, I don't know. I think usually it expects new lines at the end. We might want to, you know, there's something we have to tune then. I don't know about the requirements of the spec. So in this case, we'll just dump it in a literal form here. We should be good. Even though this new line should not start with spaces, that's for sure. So we have to put this down like that. So that should be the way it looks like. Now the same thing. Yeah, the thing is, we actually cannot serialize it that way. We cannot enforce it unless we set the width. And the width is, oh, wait a moment, we can set the width. Let's undo this. The width just has to be small enough. Width shall be, I don't know, 10. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or like 15, 16 maybe. Ah. Okay, so we also need a width, and it's probably less than that because the first line is too long. 15, 14. Okay. So what do we have here? Mark McGuire's years was crippled by knee injury. That's exactly what we would expect. Awesome. Nice. So all of a sudden we have a width parameter. So I guess we want to have this here as well. The maximum width of the YAML document. Or let's see what they say is the width, because we might as well. I mean, I'm not sure if I want to have this working on the entire YAML document or just on literals or on scalars, because I would kind of prefer it to be for scalars only. That's for sure. Nope. Yeah, so let's see what PyYAML says. Width. Here. YAML dump supports a number of keyword arguments that's better for formatting details for the emitters. For instance, maybe set the preferred indentation and width. Yeah, thank you for being so, so nondescript. Here they use it once with 50, but it seems to be for the entire document. But I'm not sure. How would I know? Yeah, so what do I want to do? Is there some mention of width in this document? Nope. Maximum, nope. Folded style. Yeah, apparently this is not defined here. You know what? I would like to have this limited to the scalar width or something. With a scalar well, is it a scalar may assume a folded scalar? No. Actually, this is only relevant to folded ones, right? How would this work? How would this work in this case? Because we can't just break it in literal mode. It can't actually obey the width restriction. See? So this is only for folded scalars. Width of a folded scalar. That is that. That is that, definitely. All right. And I also wonder if it can break at individual characters or something. I think it should be possible. No, considering that line breaks are converted to space, what happens if the width is so small that it's really difficult to do anything? What does it do? Does it fail? Or does it do it? Oh, wait. No, wait. That unexpected indent. What? Oh, yeah, that's this guy. Interesting. So if the width is too small, it doesn't use it. So let's put it to 2 or something. Still not. 3. Four could be sufficient for the first word. Probably not, but should be. 5. Make tests serd data. So 5. It seems to test as less than or something, because 4 should possibly work, but 5 is what it needs because it kind of counts the space there. Yeah, so it basically just uses tests for the first word here, huh? So the first one works, it will use it, even though the consecutive ones will now be too wide, technically. So this is something, it disobeys its own rules, and I don't know what you should do. Should you fail loudly, or should you just do it as good as possible? Probably you should just do it as good as possible, I guess. So it's more like a hint. Yeah, so I would also call it a hint then, because it's nothing that is super critical to it. I think 14 was the one that we wanted. Of a folded scalar line. It is a hint only, and if too small, the scalar some scalar lines might end up with greater width than specified here. So it's folded scalar with hint. So what do we do? If this is null or too small, we will just not fold, right? That was the idea. We will just not fold unless we have to. Folded scalar maximum with hint. Scalar lines on air. Yeah, something like that. So we will basically implement it so that by default it's something very small, like 0. So we have to implement it correctly anyway, so that we just ignore this if it's too small. And this is kind of what we have here. Cool. So that shall be that option. Yeah, let's take the string. It's once again just a string. And then we have to dump here with the correct options that we theoretically have, but obviously it's not implemented. But it's okay, we'll get there. Let's just assemble the string here. That's 14. Yeah, it doesn't need to be a raw string, I guess. Considering that, I should remove the rawness here. That should be fine. Example 214. And we should be good. That should compile. At least it does. Good. We are 43 minutes in. I think I can do one more example. I could also just call it a session and do 2 more examples in the next session. I think this one was quite productive already. So thanks for watching and have a great day.